to Mr. Tilley's Mathemagics. In this video, we are going to be going on with properties, perimeter, and area of a given shape. In this case, it's going to be a square. Keep tuned because this is going to be a series in measurement and geometry where we go through a whole bunch of different shapes. But for now, let's jump right in, starting off with a square. So what are the properties of our square? What do we have in front of us? Well, if we very quickly look at this shape, we can count up the sides that we have, and we actually have 4 sides. Feel free to write these down in your book. I'd really strongly encourage you to write these down in your book as we go. That way you've got something to look back on when we revise. So we don't just have 4 sides in a square, do we? What we have is actually 4 equal sides. And this is one of the really important parts about a square. It has 4 sides that are all the same length. It's not the only shape that has 4 sides that are the same, but it is important to remember that for a square, and it's going to become a lot more important when we get onto perimeter and area. So to tell the reader that these are equal sides, we're just going to put a blue strike mark. And keep in mind, just to keep in the back of your head, same symbol means same value. So it doesn't matter what number we put on one of these blue strike marks, every side that has a blue strike mark is going to also be that same value. So moving on, we also have 4 angles. And these angles are just represented where any 2 sides meet. But again, there's something very unique about these angles. So if we were to actually consider each angle in this shape, what we'll find is that they are actually all right angles. So we're actually going to show that these are all right angles. There we go. So remember, same symbol means same value. And to tell the reader that it's a right angle, instead of being a nice curve like you would normally see in something like that, we make it a sharp square corner to tell the reader this is definitely a right angle. Now, what else does our square have? Well, we're starting to really nitpick now, but what squares actually also have are 2 sets of parallel lines. So we'll go 2 sets of parallel lines. And this characteristic is not unique of squares. Most regular quadrilaterals, that's a shape with 4 sides, will have parallel lines, or will have at least one set of parallel lines. We do have some that don't, but squares do. Okay, so these are our 3 main properties of a square that we want to keep in mind to be able to identify when the shape we're looking at is a square, and it's going to become super important right now when we get onto perimeter and area. So if you don't have those written down in your book, pause the video, make sure you write them down. And moving on. So now we're going to be going on with perimeter. And just like we said earlier, we have 4 equal sides on a square. Now, if we think of perimeter, let's think of a farmer. And if a farmer wants to put a fence around their perimeter, they're going to walk the entire outside of their land and come back. They're going to finish right where they started. That's perimeter. It is the distance all the way around the outside. So for a square, it will be the distance around all four sides. Now, those last couple of words there, they're really important. Four sides. And that's going to start to build into our formula. So we've got four sides. Let's put a value on one of those sides. Let's say it's 10 meters. Now, what did we say earlier? Same strike mark means same value. So four sides, if one side is 10 meters, well, sure, we could go on and go 10 plus 10 plus 10. And you know what? That's going to give us our answer. But that's a pretty long way. We don't like repeated addition anymore. But how else can we do repeated addition? Well, we can actually just do times. 4 times 10 will give us the same value, but we get it quicker. So we can do that. This actually means that for our formula, we can just do 4 times the value of any one side in our square, because we know that all 4 of those sides are going to be exactly the same. So again, if you don't have that written down in your book, I would really strongly recommend you pause the video and write it down now. In fact, 4 times 10, 40. I would write it down like that. So you've got a formula. You've got your formula here. You've got your substitution here, and you've got your answer there. Okay, moving on. Finally, we're going to be going on with area. Now with area, we want to imagine, we want to imagine a grid, a whole bunch of little squares in the shape that we're working with. And to be honest, a square really lends itself very well to area, because whatever unit we're working in, let's say we're working in centimeters, our result will become centimeters squared. And it becomes centimeters squared because we're working with area, with squares. So it doesn't matter. It could be meters squared, kilometers squared. It could also be millimeters squared. Let's just put a 2. So really important, keep that squared symbol in there. Now, when we're working with area, we want to know the space it takes up, the flat space that our shape is going to take up. And we could do that by drawing our grid over our shape and then counting all the little squares as we go, 1, 2, 3, all the way up. And if you've been counting as we go, you will see that there are 36 dots now in that big square. But remember, we're getting smarter about this. We want to become more efficient with it. We want to shortcut in a way that's going to get us consistently to the answer. So what do we have? Well, we've got 6 centimeters. We've got 6 squares along one side. 6 squares in a row. Yes, yeah. But how many rows do we have? Well, we've got our top row here, next row here, that still has 6 in it. We've got this row here that has 6. This green row has 6, yellow, and we'll go black again. Well, that's 6 rows. So we have 6 squares in a row. We've got 6 rows. I think you might be able to see where I'm going with this. We could do 6 times 6. Okay, what this actually breaks down to when we apply it to other squares, it actually works with side times side. We want the value of that side multiplied by the value of that side. So when we do this calculation, 6 times 6, that will give us, again, our 36 centimeters squared. So this has been properties, perimeter, and area of a square. If you've got questions, bring them into class. We are going to practice this a lot more. Have a good day.